Welcome to the Global WarWatch Network. Some reporters claim Trump's Russia-Ukraine peace talks were a breakthrough. But the truth? Both sides flat out rejected it, making the whole thing a political embarrassment.
That's absolutely right. I mean, a real diplomatic faceplant, you could say. Today, we're unpacking what truly happened at that high-stakes summit in Alaska, the one between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, the meeting that was supposed to forge peace in Ukraine.
Supposed to, exactly.
We've gone through our sources pretty thoroughly, and they paint a stark picture. You see deep skepticism, outright rejection. It basically turned what was billed as this hopeful diplomatic push into what, well, a lot of observers are calling a political joke.
And you're about to find out why neither side was buying what Trump was apparently selling.
And what that signals for the future of this awful conflict. It's quite a story, actually. Sobering, but fascinating.
Definitely sobering.
So let's start at the beginning, the build-up. Trump's always been loud about wanting to end the Ukraine war fast, hasn't he?
Oh, constantly. He frames himself as the ultimate deal maker. He even has these aspirations of being like the next Reagan in foreign policy.
So going into Alaska, what was the core idea? What was the speculation?
Well, his big pitch was speed. A breakthrough in months, he said, not years. Which, compared to the usual diplomatic slog.
Sounds ambitious.
Very. And that ambition immediately fueled all this talk about a land for peace deal. The basic idea floating around was that maybe Ukraine could be, let's say, persuaded to give up territory to stop the fighting.
And just so everyone's clear on the scale here,
Right.
Russia currently occupies about, 19% of Ukraine?
Roughly, yes. That includes Crimea, annexed way back in 2014, plus big chunks of the Donbas region seized even before the full invasion in 22.
The land for peace isn't just a minor concession. It's huge tracts of land, strategic land.
Absolutely. But it's really important to note, leading up to that August 15th summit, the U.S. administration itself seemed, cautious.
Trying to manage expectations.
Exactly. The State Department, the White House, they were quite clear this was meant to be a listening exercise for Trump. They kept stressing it was not a negotiation for a peace deal without Ukraine being right there at the table.
So setting boundaries early on.
They tried to. They emphasized that any real peace talks needed a trilateral meeting. U.S., Russia, Ukraine, all three.
And didn't Trump himself say something similar to European leaders?
He did. He apparently reaffirmed that he would not negotiate territorial issues with Putin directly. So the stage was set, but with these, supposed guardrails.
Okay, so guardrails in place, summit announced. How did Ukraine react to all this?
Well, those guardrails didn't seem to mean much in Kyiv. The reaction was overwhelmingly negative, just widespread anger, defiance inside Ukraine, among the diaspora.
We could really feel it in the reports. Our sources mentioned hopelessness, anger, and defiance. Just the prospect of these talks seems to have hit a raw nerve.
It really did. It felt like salt in the wound for so many.
I remember reading about Irina, a young lawyer from Kyiv, 26 years old. She called the talks laughable.
Laughable, yeah. And worse, she called it a cruel auction.
A cruel auction.
Yeah. Her fear was that Ukraine was, quote, being sold for someone else's gain. Worried the U.S. just saw Ukraine as, an asset to trade away.
That's a really deep sense of disillusionment, isn't it?
And it was everywhere. A pervasive feeling of betrayal by the U.S. and other states that could have done more, particularly around military aid, feeling it was insufficient and untimely.
We saw that with Pavlo, 24, from Lutsk. He basically said his hopes for any kind of fair deal were gone, just faded.
Yeah, it really drove home this feeling for them that they were being sacrificed,
And beyond the emotions, there's the legal side. Ukraine has this very firm constitutional position against giving up territory, right?
Absolutely firm. President Zelensky, Foreign Minister Sibaha, they've been explicit. The Constitution forbids relinquishing land. It's non-negotiable.
How deep does that run? Is it just politics or?
Oh, it's much deeper than just politics or a talking point. For many Ukrainians, it's personal, it's moral, it's enshrined in law. Think about Yulia, 43 years old, a refugee from Mariupol.
Mariupol. The destruction there was just horrific.
Exactly. And she vehemently rejected any idea of giving her hometown to Putin, a place where thousands of civilians were killed. For her, giving it up would be like formalizing a monstrous crime.
That puts it in stark human terms. It's not just lines on a map.
Not at all. It's a red line emotionally, morally, historically.
And strategically. What was Zelensky's concern about ceding territory, say, in the Donbass?
Strategically huge concerns. Zelensky basically said giving up Donbass would strip Ukraine of vital defensive lines. It could just pave the way for more Russian attacks down the line.
He had that chilling quote about Putin being like a boomerang.
Yeah, he comes back until he gets what he wants. The implication is clear. Any land concession is just a pause, not peace. Ukrainians widely believe another peace agreement would just end up as another useless piece of paper.
Because Russia just ignores them.
History suggests they do, yes. Their track record isn't great.
Okay, another point Trump raised was elections in Ukraine. On the surface, seems democratic, but how did Ukrainians see that?
Yeah, sounds simple, right? But again, context is everything. Alexandra, a 30-year-old from Kyiv, laid it out pretty clearly.
What did she say?
She explained, look, the Ukrainian constitution forbids elections while under martial law, and they are under martial law.
Okay.
So holding elections now, she argued, it only helps Russia. It would force Ukraine to lift martial law, pull soldiers back from the front.
Creating a vulnerability.
A perfect window for a new Russian offensive, exactly when Ukraine's defenses are weakened. Plus, she added, Ukrainians see Zelensky as 100% legitimate right now. There's no real demand for elections during wartime.
So a total disconnect between an outside suggestion and the wartime reality on the ground.
A fundamental disconnect, and it fed into a deeper skepticism about Trump's motives, too.
How so?
Well, Alexandra was pretty blunt. She said, quote, I don't think Trump gives a damn about Ukraine.
Oof. Strong words.
And she felt his talk about a deal involving natural resources somehow made it sound like Ukraine should pay reparations, not Russia. She called the whole idea insane.
So from Kyiv's perspective, betrayal, non-negotiable red lines, and deep suspicion about the whole process.
Exactly. It wasn't just an insult. They saw it as a dangerous distraction that completely missed the point of their fight and their resolve.
Okay, so that's Ukraine, firmly rejecting any hint of imposed peace or territorial loss. But what about Russia? They came to Alaska too, presumably not just for the scenery.
Definitely not. And Russia arrived with its own, let's say, uncompromising set of demands. And as our sources show, they also found some unique ways to express their view of Trump's efforts.
Unique how? Let's start with their official position. Did it change at all for the summit?
Not one bit. Officials like Alexei Fadiv from the Foreign Ministry just reiterated Russia's objectives are unchanged. Still maximalist, meaning they still demand Ukraine's full military and political capitulation, withdrawal from all 4 annexed oblasts, and this is key, including the parts Russia doesn't currently occupy.
So demanding territory they haven't even captured yet.
Precisely. Plus the usual demands, demilitarization, so-called denazification, and guaranteed future neutrality, which means, of course, absolutely no NATO.
That term denazification.
Yeah.
It's such a loaded part of their narrative. Can you just briefly remind us what they mean by that?
Well, denazification is the justification Russia uses, claiming they need to remove supposed Nazi elements or a Nazi regime in Ukraine. It's widely seen internationally as propaganda, lacking credible evidence, designed to demonize Ukraine's government and justify the invasion to their own people.
Right, propaganda versus reality. And then there's the constitutional issue for Putin himself, those 2020 amendments. They really limit his options, don't they?
They absolutely do. He's effectively backed himself into a corner. Those amendments forbid giving back any territory declared part of Russia.
So he can't withdraw from those annexed Ukrainian provinces, even the ones they barely control.
Not without fundamentally undermining his own new core principles, potentially risking his political survival. There's this view in Russian history, as one source points out, that leaders who expand territory are good, those who lose it are failures, think Gorbachev. Putin can't afford to be seen giving up land he's declared Russian forever.
So, politically impossible for him. Makes negotiations tricky, to say the least.
Tricky is an understatement. It makes genuine compromise on territory virtually impossible from his side.
Okay, so given that deadlock, how did the Kremlin try to use the optics of the Alaska summit?
Well, they tried to spin it. They deliberately portrayed it as Russia being a world power equal to the United States, making these, frankly, inaccurate comparisons to the 1945 Yalta Conference.
Yalta, where the Allies carved up post-war spheres of influence. That seems a stretch.
A huge stretch. It was a clear attempt to conceal the power disparity and just boost their image on the world stage, regardless of whether the talks achieved anything. Projecting power.
But then there was Russian state TD, and their reaction was quite different.
Oh, completely different. This is where it gets really wild and almost darkly funny. While the Kremlin was trying to look serious and equal, state TV hosts were just openly mocking Trump.
Mocking him? How?
Hosts like Dmitry Kulikov reportedly called Trump's actions pure buffoonery, said he was playing the Black Swan. Kulikov apparently even broke into song like Trump pum 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 pum, mimicking a clown.
Seriously, on state television.
Seriously, they laughed at his analogies like comparing tariffs to medicine. Kulikov apparently said it was like treating pneumonia with a laxative.
Wow. And the other big host, Solovyov.
Vladimir Solovyov apparently covered his face laughing, called the summit an event of historic proportions, sarcastically, obviously. And get this, he suggested a monument should be erected to Trump.
A monument? For what?
For dealing, quote, a major blow to the system of capitalism.
So they saw him not as a peace broker, but as an unwitting agent undermining the West.
Precisely. They weren't taking his diplomatic effort seriously at all. They saw him as this almost comical figure who was actually helping their strategic goals by sowing chaos or damaging Western systems.
That's quite something. Did they expect anything concrete from him regarding Ukraine?
Their expectation, reported in state media, was that Trump would simply abandon Ukraine and permanently stop all aid. That's the only kind of ceasefire Moscow seemed interested in, one where Ukraine is just cut off.
So you have Putin constitutionally blocked from giving up land, sticking to maximalist demands.
While his own state media is laughing at the mediator and hoping he just pulls the plug on Ukraine.
There's just no overlap there. Is there no basis for a deal whatsoever?
None at all. It highlights the absolute chasm between the parties.
Which brings us neatly to the aftermath. High expectations, high-profile summit, and then nothing.
Exactly. No breakthrough, just confirmation of the deadlock. It ended up being, as many observers noted, a significant political embarrassment for the would-be mediator.
Because it just slammed into the brick wall of reality. Both sides, for totally different but equally firm reasons, rejected the core premise of any deal Trump might have envisioned.
And meanwhile, back in the real world, the war grinds on. The diplomatic theater was completely disconnected from the battlefield.
What's happening on the ground now?
Well, reports indicate Russian forces are actually preparing to conduct further offensive operations in key areas, and they're keeping up the long-range drone strikes on Ukrainian infrastructure and cities in the rear.
So no let-up despite the talks.
If anything, it reinforces the idea that both sides still think they can achieve more militarily than diplomatically right now.
And we still have the nuclear dimension looming, don't we?
Unfortunately, yes. Those Zapad 2025 exercises are on the horizon, and Belarus just announced they're rehearsing the use of tactical nuclear weapons.
Which sounds incredibly alarming.
It is. Analysts call this sort of thing a reflexive control campaign. Basically, using threats and signals, like nuclear drills, to try and subtly manipulate Western decision-making. Make them hesitate, perhaps reduce support for Ukraine.
So more pressure, more tension, further overshadowing any faint hope of peace talks.
It really just underlines the huge gap between the kind of swift transactional peace deal envisioned for Alaska and the incredibly complex, deeply entrenched realities on the ground and in the political arenas of Kyiv and Moscow.
So wrapping this up, what's the key takeaway for you, the listener, trying to make sense of this? The Alaska summit wasn't a near miss. It was, frankly, a non-starter from the beginning, a stark display of just how far apart everyone is. And yes, a political embarrassment for the mediator caught in the middle.
And it leaves us with a really tough, provocative question, doesn't it? Given these constitutional locks, these political realities, these deeply held positions on territory for both Russia and Ukraine, what could possibly move the needle towards a real, lasting peace? Is there anything? Or are we just looking at a long, brutal, grinding conflict where the only changes come through force?
A very sobering thought to end on. We have to keep asking that question. Thank you for joining us on Global WarWatch Network. If you found this discussion insightful, please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel.
And please share your thoughts in the comment section below. We do read them. And join us on social media. You'll find the links in the description.
Your engagement really does help us keep bringing you these essential analyses. Thanks again for listening.